learned early on, I was not a good social media strategist, owner, or mother when I tried to do it at the same time. So just figuring out that schedule where I could do both and figuring out how much I wanted of both. And honestly, I'm just so grateful that we live, at a time where that's possible.
Welcome to Behind Their Success. This podcast is for people who are feeling stuck on their entrepreneur journey or in their careers. It's for people who want to scale and grow their businesses, learn about the power of mindset, or they just know there's more out there and they want to start making changes. I'm Peyton Squires, the host of the podcast. I was never cut out to be an employee, and when I was an employee, I was bored out of my mind. So I made a plan. I studied and passed the CPA exam in 8 months while working, all with the end goal in mind of quitting my job and starting my own business. I did that in 2014, and it's been an amazing wild ride since. So now let's hear from other entrepreneurs and what mindsets, and probably more important, what actions they have taken that have created and led to their success. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Behind Their Success podcast. I am Peyton Squires, the host, and today we have on Teah Hopper. Teah is a content and social media strategist. She helps business owners and entrepreneurs find joy in their social media again. She also loves helping clients discover their unique story and simplify their social media through a strategic approach. She is the proud mother of 3 young children, and she has been able to build her business while being home part-time with them. Teah, good morning. Welcome on the podcast. Yeah,
Thank
Teah. So
you.
tell me, obviously, I know you fairly well. You help me a lot with my social media, or I say a lot. You basically run my social media. Obviously, I know you, but for the listeners, give us a little more about your background and what you do.
Yeah, I studied marketing and communications in college, and my first job out just kind of wore the jack of all trades hat, just a little bit of everything. And I like to say that I kind of landed into social media. It chose me. I didn't necessarily choose it. I was that token young person. And so I ended up going to work for a great association and as their director of digital engagement. So that was really when social media was taking off. And it was the first, I think, at least locally, job that was really around social media. So that just gave me a great opportunity to learn more about it and get to know people. And I've always wanted to do my own thing. My husband and I, before we were even married, just said, like, we don't want the typical 9 to 5. We don't want to get in the rat race of life. We had no idea what that was going to look like. But slowly it just happened where I started to have people asking me if I could help them with their social media. And so I was able to, I'm not a risk taker. I'm not really a true entrepreneur. It took me a very long time to leave a full-time position. I had to have everything just set up right, but I was able to slowly build my business, get clients. And then about, probably for close to 10 years now that I've been working in my business in some capacity, but 8 years full time now with my business. So I love what I get to do. And a lot of, just goes back to the freedom. I think that's what we're all after, being able to work from home where I want, when I want, build my business around our life and values and kids. And so it's been such a blessing to be able to do that. And yeah, and somewhere along there, really, it all changed for me, this how I approach social media and how I work with people. And that I stopped loving it as much as I did when I was in my 20s. And that scared the heck out of me. But I really was able to lean into that of oh my gosh, if I'm feeling this way, how are other people feeling who didn't really like it that much in the first place? And since I've leaned into that, I've really been able to attract and work with business owners and entrepreneurs who feel the same way of I know I need it. I really don't like it. It feels like a waste of time. And that's where, in these last few years, I've really been able to step in and help people find success without it taking over their life.
That's interesting. I know from knowing you, I know that you've built your business intentionally, right? Intentionally around the freedom and the kids. Can you provide a little more context to that, or the why, or the kind of how you've done that? Because as entrepreneurs that are growing their business and doing all these things, most people get into entrepreneurship for the freedom, right? The freedom, the flexibility. But often, me, guilty as anybody, you see opportunities all the time and you take on more and more stuff, and then you might build a business that doesn't optimize for freedom, right?
Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard. Yeah, I mean, I think just really keeping that as the forefront, that this is why I'm doing it. I only have so many years that they're home. My 2 little guys are still part-time in preschool, but I know when they go to kindergarten, I'll have more time for my business. And so just really knowing how fleeting that time is and keeping that why at the forefront. And so for me, great advice I got early on from a mutual friend of ours, Amanda Quick, said, like, well, what does, because I was really struggling with that balance. I love working. I mean, even if it's the long holiday weekend, it's like, I couldn't wait to get back and work. I love time with my kids. I want both. And sometimes it's heavier one way, sometimes it's heavier in the other. And I just try to keep that big picture in mind. But her advice was like, well, what does the perfect week look like? And so for me, looking at, okay, it wasn't working part days. That did not work for me because it was like, as soon as I was getting into work, I was getting pulled out. So finding childcare that was full days, but not 5 days a week, that had that flexibility. And so I knew that, it's changed over the years. I work a little bit more now than I used to when I first started out, but I had 2, 3, whatever, how many days a week that I was full on in my business and I had childcare. I wasn't trying to do both at the same time. And then I had days of the week where I just got to be home and focus on them. And that doesn't mean I'm not checking email, keeping up with things, but I'm not in meetings. And I know some people that are able to do both, and that is not me. So that was something I learned early on. I was not a good social media strategist, owner, or mother when I tried to do it at the same time. So just figuring out that schedule where I could do both and figuring out how much I wanted of both. And honestly, I'm just so grateful that we live, at a time where that's possible. It is hard. There are times where I'm like, man, if I worked more, what would my business look like? I mean, but I know that it'll come soon enough. And so, yeah, I just think really trying to keep that value at the forefront has been helpful.
That's something, conversations my wife and I have a lot about the balance of all of that. We're both kind of hard driving, I guess, people. Our careers are somewhat important to us. And it's a constant struggle and a conversation of, okay, we want to go after all these things because it's important to us, but like balancing all that and knowing that we have 3 small children as well. And we got 10, 15 years or something left with them before they're gone. So the time is fast and trying to balance. Yeah. Something I struggle with on the daily basis.
Well, and my husband, who has his own business, and they look very different, and the way we've built our businesses are very different, and it's a struggle for us. I mean, he's more in the mindset of like he's going to work really hard right now to have more time later, and I'm like, will that ever come?
Yeah, that's me.
That time ever come where you feel like it gets addicted is a strong word, but I mean, you get into it and so I think, but for him, he is trying to build it in a way to have that freedom. And so there's not one right way to do it. But I think, like you said, it's constantly just revisiting that, and making sure your every decision, they seem like minor ones, but every decision's leading to that. And so,
yeah, it comes to begin with the end in mind, right? Like knowing what you are building. They're like, have your North Star, I'm heading in this direction. And then every decision, does that get me closer or further away than that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I know you love books, 2 books, and I'm sure you've read them too, but for the listeners, that really helped us early on. One, it was the 40-Hour Work Week. So we read that when I was just starting
Tim Ferriss,
my business,
by the way.
and
great.
Ryan was yeah. We ended up taking a year after that, and he did travel nursing, and we just traveled for a year, and it was so inspiring. It still is, and I probably should reread it. The other one that I read, but also has been super helpful for Ryan, is he's built his business is built to sell. So building a business with intention of what does the future look like, and setting it up in a way that, whether you sell or not, just building it in a way that you aren't in the
so it's not just, the whole business revolves around you and your labor and your skills, right? And in many ways, like my business over the last couple of years has transitioned, or trying to transition from, I would say, more of a business like yours, Teah, where it's like I was doing well, kind of had all the freedom in the world, but it was really just kind of me and not a scalable thing, right? And then trying to make the transition to, okay, I'm building a firm now, right? And all these processes and people and getting my name off the door. So not everybody's like, where's Payton at? So it's the same thing, building a business that's scalable and the ability to operate without me. And that's the ideal world. But it's tough and it takes time and a lot of slogging through that, which I'm in the middle of a lot of that right now.
Are you looking for a new tax experience? Looking for an advisor that actually brings you high-level ideas and proactively plans so you aren't overpaying your taxes? Or how about one that even just responds and communicates in a timely fashion? If any of that resonates with you, you probably just have a tax preparer and not a tax planner. And it is through the tax planning process where all the value is found. I'm Payton Squires. I'm a CPA and owner of WR Tax Planners. We work alongside entrepreneurs and high-income earners, helping them pay the least amount of income taxes, both legally and ethically. We have saved our clients hundreds of thousands of dollars through specific strategies, and we guarantee we can find multiple tax saving strategies that your current tax preparer hasn't told you about. If that interests you, head on over to the contact page at paydensquires.com. There you can fill out a contact form and get a call booked to see what it would look like to have WR tax planners on your team.
So Teah, what would you credit as like your best skill? So what skill do you possess that really helps you be successful in your business in the social media world?
I would say a couple of things come to mind, and they're probably the same thing. I'm just not coming up with the one word, but like simplifying. I think social media has become really complicated, and a lot of the reason why people don't want to do it for their business is because it feels overwhelming. It feels, like I said, a waste of time. They feel like they're not getting results for their time. And so really being able to come in and just simplify it and like learn their business, learn their goals, and give them a game plan that's going to help them have success without feeling like they're just spinning their wheels. And whether that's me empowering them to go do it and kind of staying in their corner as a coach, or us taking on as a management and doing it for them, but allowing them to like stay in their zone of genius. You love to do these podcasts, you love to do videos. So those are ways that great, we can be really efficient with your time and get what we need and let you do what you enjoy and then do the stuff that you don't enjoy. And that looks a little bit different for everybody, but finding the ways that they love to create content or how they want to get their voice out there and then sharing their story. So I just love being able to work with people that get it, that have like a business that they're passionate about, and being able to help tell their story and get them success. But I think the other thing that it kind of goes back to what we were talking about and with the business is just, I don't even think organize is the right word, but just being able to be efficient and put the pieces together. So whether that's like organizing how to be able to work and be at home and all of that, and working with clients is just, how do I do it? I get asked a lot, not working full-time hours. And I think it is just some organization that I seem to have in my brain that just happens
Yeah, it's
really
important.
easily.
I mean, like, that's most of life is trying to turn like chaos into something that's somewhat organized. And if you go and organize something like, or say, small example, organize a room, right? And then your kids come in, and the natural state is stuff starts to turn to chaos. Like you mow a yard, and eventually if you just let it go, it turns back into kind of chaotic and its own thing. So that's a tough skill, a skill that's very, very powerful of organizing and getting stuff lined out. And I think it's a really important skill in today's age, just because we live in such a world of distraction, right? And such these quick dopamine hits from like things like social media that people are just consuming all the time, that they can never take the time or take the long enough view to get things organized and set up. So, Teah, what would you credit as the best decision you've ever made in regards to your entrepreneur journey?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, one, I think just taking the leap to go all in, do the thing. We were talking about scaling a little bit ago, and it's kind of a fun story. I was kind of stuck, and it was such an easy, fix when I actually figured it out. But it was, I don't know, probably 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. And I was similar business. I wasn't doing social media management, just the strategy piece. And I was really maxed out with the number of clients I could take. It was me. I had one person helping me. They didn't have a lot of hours they were giving me, or that I was asking of them. And I just felt, pretty maxed out, and was kind of at this, okay, how do I scale this? And without hiring a team, which is something I've never really wanted to do, didn't necessarily want to turn into the agency, or without working more hours and giving up that kind of balance with kids. And so there was somebody I followed, and she was having an online conference. I think I had like 2-month-old at the time. And so I attended this online conference and learned about the concept of like a VIP day. And it was just like, it was such an easy, like, yes, so basically took my process for strategy, and instead of doing it over a course of several meetings, combined it into a day, and it just changed everything for my business. So I can't necessarily take credit for it, but just finding the idea and implementing it allowed me to scale and help so many more clients. But it's also just a better service for them. I mean, it's not something that just benefited me, because most of the time when they come to me, they're wishing they would have done social media, and they want
2011 or something.
Yes. Yeah. And they want immediate results. So to be able to say like, yeah, give me a day. And also as a typical busy business owner, like they can knock out a day and we can do that versus trying to find time on our calendar over several weeks. And so it's just been such a game changer for both sides and allowed me to scale and just also have even more freedom with the way I'm working and my calendar and all those things. So yeah, it's been amazing. And it just still blows my mind sometimes that it was, I think the conference was like $10 or something, and it was just like, yeah, I heard it and I was like, that's it.
Yeah. And there's two things I would point out there. One, you said you were willing to make the jump is one of your best decisions, right? And that's the obvious one. And, the one that for most people is the toughest is the very first one. Certainly was for me. And then two, your best decision was revolved around being willing to learn or constantly looking for new information, right? If you never attended that conference, you never would have get that idea. You never would have scaled, snowball. But it's true. And that's why I'm a big proponent of podcasts and books and just whatever consuming information, because earlier you mentioned the 4-Hour Work Week with Tim Ferriss. That book changed my business flat out. I read that book in, I don't know, 2016, 17, something like that. And I was like, whoa, this guy knows what he's talking about. And I straight up stole stuff straight out of that book and implemented it in my business. One big thing was, and you remember this was 7-8 years ago, but this was before people really had like scheduling links. And I stole that straight out of there. And it was like, oh my God, how much time would I have, and I was running a solo practice at the time. How much time would I have if I never had to schedule a meeting? If I just sent everybody a link and they pick the time themselves. And it was like $150 to implement that and saved me, I don't know, 100+ hours just immediately.
Yeah.
And it's ideas like that. And I stole the voicemail script out of there. Basically, it's like where you're trying to get everybody to do anything but leave you a voicemail because that's just such a slow, clunky process. And especially if you're running a solo practice. But my voicemail script was like, hey, you need a meeting? Go to the website. Here's the link. Hey, you got a question? Best way to get that answer is to send me an email. Or 3, finally, if that doesn't solve your problems, you can leave a voicemail and we check it, at these times per day. So setting expectations of you're not necessarily going to get immediate callback. But it's just all those type of things I learned in a book that cost me, $5 and probably made me thousands, right?
Yeah. Well, and again, it's like you didn't just read the book though. You took the time to implement, which is the hard part. But I think it doesn't only save you the hours, but it's the energy too. Those sound like things that just drove you crazy. And so not only to save you time, but like you're not wasting your energy on them. You can put them into other things that are more important to your business.
Or even just revenue generating, right?
Yes.
Or whatever. Yeah. So on the flip side of all that, Teah, what's a big mistake you've made?
Oh, I don't think I was prepared for this.
Come on, you got to.
Oh, I know. I have plenty. Yeah, I would say probably, I can't think of one huge mistake. I can think of several small ones. And that probably goes back to just the not setting up processes sooner, not hiring sooner. I think we all tend to keep our cards close and kind of wait till it's hard to know, when that timing's right. But because I'm organized, I really just had my own kind of system and process for even just invoicing and contracts and client. And when I finally implemented a CRM, it was like, oh my gosh, should have done that.
What have I been doing?
So long ago. Yeah. And now looking back, it's like, man, I could not maintain, where I'm at today if I was still doing it that old way.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to the energy piece of just, I don't want to be spending my time on those things. So that's definitely one. And I think when I worked full time and I ended up being VP of marketing, and I just did not love management experience for reasons I won't get into today. But so I've been reluctant, I think, to have a team and to build a team. And one, because I wanted that time freedom, I didn't want people relying on me or bothering me when I wasn't on and in the office. But I think finding the right people, because now I have a team of 3 that aren't, again, they're not full-time by any means, but I definitely could not do today what I'm doing in the amount of time that I'm doing it for the clients without their help. When I'm with my kids, they're still working and keeping things going. And so having the right people, I think, has not only just helped my business, but it's been a joy to work with them and have them. And it's also, I think, different working with a team like that when they're not full-time employees that I'm managing. So and to be able to pour into them and help them because they're wanting to learn more about this business and more about social media. And so that's been fun. So I think that's something that maybe having shifted my mindset earlier could have changed things. And I was hesitant to not offer management for a long time. And now we do. And it's been amazing for my business and for the clients to take advantage of it. So I'm at another kind of, again, and this is, I think, probably good for listeners to know. It's like, here I am, however many years later now, kind of at a scaling place again, where it's like, okay,
Mhm.
we're gonna have to figure this out before there's this bottleneck. So trying to figure that out and trying to do that sooner than later.
Yeah, I have similar mistakes. A lot of people on this show share similar mistakes, right? Of afraid to hire people, afraid of, scaling and all those kinds of things. I took forever to hire employee, years, because I don't know, I told myself I didn't want to do it or whatever. It was probably just fear or whatever it is, right? Or didn't want people relying on me. But like, yeah, you can't scale, right? You can't scale at all. And that's fine. Like you said, if you want to just run your business and do your own thing, I did that for a lot of years. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just you're much more like self-employed and not a business owner. And trying to make that transition is a huge transition. And like you said, a place maybe in your business to where you're kind of at a plateau or maybe getting to close to full capacity, right? And then you got to figure out, okay, where do we go from here? Are we good at this plateau? Or, okay, we got to break some things, right? And rebuild them so we can go to the next level. And that's what people don't realize. It's like you can't really go to the next level without breaking some stuff, taking a step back, and then going to the next level. People just think you go to the next level, and I can attest it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And then, you figure it out and you're good for a while and then you go again. I mean, it's a constant evolving.
Mhm.
You're never there, because whether your business is changing or just the world is changing, technology, I mean, all of it is. So I think that's one of the things we love about it, is that it is always changing. I know when I worked full time, it was like after a year, 2 years, you start to get bored. And I've never felt that way doing my own thing. So that's, there's both sides of it. It's a lot to keep up with, but yeah, you're never going to get bored.
Yeah, same experience I've talked about on the show before. My last job was the most boring job I've ever had in my life. And now, like, I'm 100% the complete opposite. I have junk flying at me constantly and trying to decipher all that and fly through it. So totally different world, totally different problems.
Yeah.
It's can be a fun ride. So Teah, looking back, when did you start your business, the consulting business around social media? Like about what time?
So let's see, 2016 is when I had my daughter. This is always my point that I go back to. And I'd been doing it a couple years while working part-time. I
Yeah.
planned to, quit when I had her. And the company I was with was just so amazing that I was able to do both for a year. And again, I was kind of scared to make the jump. So yeah, it was 2017 was when I went all in. And so that's when I marked the anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So looking back at 2017 Teah, what piece of advice would you give her today?
Oh man, definitely just to dream bigger. It's funny because my dream was, again, it goes back to that why of being able to want to work, but also be home. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to be an internet contractor, have a few clients I'll be helping, and it was like,
Mhm.
well, I probably need a logo. It was like, probably need a website, be legitimate. And
Mhm.
then it's like, I can't tell people to be on social media, but I'm not on social media. And all of a sudden it's like, I have a business. How did this happen? Like, I'm legitimate. I think it would just be, yeah, I just continue to be amazed at like where we are today and where this could go. And all the while, I think I was just very in the day to day, like I'm an achiever, I'm motivated, but I'm not necessarily, like I said, I did not start out as like with this vision. So I think probably just to open my eyes a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. And knowing your personality a little bit, I could see that. And I have similar in some ways. People think I'm maybe this real high A driving like type of person, but really I'm not. People perceive that to a degree, but I have to push myself to do that. That's not like a natural thing. And same thing, like dreaming big. I started my business in my living room and like I had a few clients and I was like, wow, if I can just like replace my income or whatever, like this would be awesome.
Yeah.
And then like I said, it's just tiny little steps from there. It's like, oh, got to get a logo, got to get a website. And then all of a sudden here you are 10 years later and you're like, oh my gosh, how'd all this happen?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I definitely wouldn't trade it. Like I'm grateful to be where I am. But yeah, it's just funny. You start out, I was the same way. It's like how many times we crunched the numbers of like, okay, can I do it? Can I step out and, and be the same. And then it was like, yeah, it's just funny. I remember telling Ryan, and we were in our kitchen table at our old house, and I was like, I just want to like work less hours but make more money. And he just laughed and he was like, well, I think that's everybody's dream. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. No, yeah, yeah. That's same here. And to, circle back what we were talking earlier is like, I feel like to some degree I've lost a little sight of that. Now I know I'm pushing and working harder to build the firm, but originally I came into all of this was to not have to answer anybody, get freedom and make some money. Right. And now if you take a look at my schedule, the freedom is a little, a little lacking at times, but the idea is to push through and to get to that place where you reclaim that freedom after you've hit that new plateau and kind of get everything established and running. But it takes time and you're in the middle of it and you're just kind of like, wish I could get to the end of this. It was already good to go. But yeah.
Yeah. So you'll get there. I mean, I think that's the thing, right? Is like just like we talked about at the beginning, just keeping that why at the forefront of like, you will get there because you're holding on to that. Like you haven't lost sight of it. It's not like you're just going and you've forgotten that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to celebrate with you when you're on the other side.
So I have the freedom. So Teah, great conversation. What is the best way people can connect with you? Maybe they're interested in social media services or just want to connect with you. What's the best way people can do that?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's all just my name. So you can go to my website, teahhopper.com, check out lots of free resources there. You can send me a message that way. My email is teah@teahhopper.com. And then you can send me a message on Instagram. Same, just my name, Teah Hopper.
Awesome, guys. So if you want to check out Teah, she's amazing. Like I said, she runs all my stuff. They really got me organized and keep me from having to spend much time on it and make me look way smarter than I am. So I appreciate that. Listeners, thanks for checking out the show. We will catch you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you found it valuable, please rate, review, and share it. That is the best way to help us build this and reach more people, as we're trying to accomplish our goal of help creating more healthy, wealthy, and wise entrepreneurs. You can follow us on social media by searching for me, Peyton Squires, or going to PeytonSquires.com. On the website and social media, we're always sharing tips of personal growth, and there we can actually interact. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.